Hello there YouTube, and welcome along to Steve's Let's Talk Apple announcements at WWDC 2020. So if you're wondering what WWDC is, it's an event that Apple normally hold every year in June. They have done for quite some time now, so it's quite an annual thing, and what they tend to do is they begin WWDC off by kicking off with a keynote, a press conference. And this is where developers and the press from around the world come together and they find out more details about what Apple plan to do with the next updates for iPhone, iPad, for the Macs, for the Apple Watch and Apple TV. So obviously, what with the current pandemic situation going on, developers and the press haven't been able to come together this year to watch this keynote or press event happen in real time. So Apple decided to go ahead and do the press event, but obviously do the press event online. So obviously we still got to see what the new updates have in store for the iPhone, iPad, Mac, Watch, Apple Watch and Apple TV. So in this video I'm going to go through some of the things that Apple announced during this keynote. So I'm going to start with iOS 14, which is the next iOS update. This is the first thing that Apple did talk about during its keynote presentation. So I'm going to start with iOS 14 then. So there are new capabilities for Siri, including a Google Translate-like app for live conversational translations. Messages 2 gets much needed updates with the ability to pin messages, improvements in group conversations and more looks for Memoji customizations. Maps has new features such as cycling navigation for more cities and EV routing to alleviate worries about running out of juice en route. CarPlay rethinks car keys. They're now virtual and shareable. App clips come to the App Store for quick access to new apps and to link to apps from Safari and more. Borrowing a feature from iPad and Android phones as well, Apple brings picture-in-picture to the iPhone in iOS 14, which will give you a floating thumbnail of a video if you switch to look at your home screen or any other app. The company also revises the home screen with a bold new tool called App Library and the ability to put dynamic widgets on the home screen. For smart home, the Home app provides adaptive lighting, the ability to define activity zones for cameras, plus face recognition notifications from your doorbell across all the devices as well. So that is quite a lot of things in terms of iOS 14 that is going to be coming to the iPhone. Now, I can confirm that developers who develop apps for Apple can get their hands on iOS 14 from today. It has been available since June 22nd. Obviously, the time that I'm filming this, it is June the 30th. So for the last few days now, you've been able to get your hands on the iOS 14 app. iOS 14 update, should I say, so that you can obviously do some work on your apps that you develop. If you are a public beta tester like me, who gets access to the newest updates from iOS earlier than the rest of the public, then you'll be able to get your hands on iOS 14 later this July to test it out before anybody else can test it out. If you are someone who doesn't have the public beta option, or you're not a developer, then you'll be able to get your hands on iOS 14 later this autumn with a release date set to be announced in the near future. So that is iOS 14, and obviously I will do another YouTube video either at some point between the end of July or beginning of August on my YouTube channel SteveOfficial, where I will give you an in-depth look as to what iOS 14 looks like, and I'll also give you a look at what iPad OS 14 looks like as well. And that's actually the next thing that I'm going to be going on to, is iPad OS 14, because that is the next update that Apple did take a look at during their Apple keynote conference that took place. So let's take a look. So with iPad OS 14, you'll find the same redesigned widgets as iOS 14, but iPad OS improves Photos navigation with a sidebar. The sidebar design has also been integrated into several of Apple's own apps, with tapping and dragging, compact notifications for incoming calls, and more won't obscure your screen. That's in iOS as well. Search has been redesigned to work from anywhere and to operate more like Spotlight on the desktop. Finally, the new Scribble app provides handwriting recognition, note-taking for use with Apple Pencil, and the ability to cut and paste more intelligently, as well as the ability to write into text fields. Very Windows 10-like. It can recognise different languages as well. So that is iPad OS 14, and like I say, I'll give you guys an in-depth look at iPad OS 14 and iOS 14 in a future YouTube video here on SteveOfficial, so make sure you keep your eyes peeled for that. Let's now move on to macOS Big Sur. And with macOS Big Sur, it's a complete redesign that will greet you when you update to the newest macOS version. Though you'd be forgiven for thinking it's a pretty subtle change, the same Photos design from iPad OS comes to macOS, as do many of the app updates that we'll get in iOS and iPad OS. Control Center in the menu bar, widgets and notification center is more sophisticated as well. Mac Catalyst, the tool for porting iOS apps to macOS, fleshes out some of the capabilities to make it more natively macOS-like. Safari will be faster at loading frequently visited websites and enhanced privacy features, including more granular controls over how long the privileges you've granted a site last. So that's macOS Big Sur. Let's now go on to watchOS 7. So with watchOS 7, which will be available for Apple Watch users, you can customize your Apple Watch face with multiple complications. Customizing is easier too. Plus there are some new faces. You'll be able to share faces as well. Your body will also appreciate the new dance routines to jazz up your workout. At the other end of the spectrum, it adds sleep tracking. With the new OS, the watch will be able to track your hand washing as well, which is really good, to be honest, because obviously now in today's society we are being urged to, obviously we will be urged to, you know, wash our hands a lot more, given that, you know, of today, what the current situation is, the current global situation is, you know, which is good. So there we go. So there is also another thing that I'd like to add, which is something for AirPod users, obviously the wireless AirPod earphones that people have. So there's going to be an update coming soon to your AirPods, where if you have, like me, an iPhone and an iPad and a Mac, you know, you'll be able to connect to Bluetooth via via different devices, you know. So on the one hand, you could be sat here listening to music on your iPhone, you know, and all of a sudden you want to watch a video on your iPad. you'll be able to transfer your Bluetooth functionality from your AirPods, from your iPhone, and it will connect straight up to your Bluetooth on your iPad straight away. And it's the same going for it's the same that goes for the Mac as well. You might be wanting to have a video call with your friend using your laptop, your Mac OS laptop. You will be able to connect your AirPods from your iPad right up to your Mac OS device straight away, and you'll be able to jump straight into that video call straight away. And if you have a phone call coming through on your iPhone, then no need to worry, because you will again be able to straight away go back to your iPhone, and of course that Bluetooth functionality will go straight from your macOS device to your iOS device. It is such a handy tool. It is such a great tool to have as well, I do think. And it kind of makes me want to buy the AirPods now, just so I can use that functionality, you know. So yeah, but anyway, so there we go. So that is pretty much a brief outlook as to what's coming up for watchOS 7, for Apple's Big Sur, and also for iPadOS and for iOS as well. So that is everything that I have to talk about today. I'm just trying to look here just to see if anything from Apple TV had been announced, but by the looks of it here, from what I'm looking at here, it doesn't look like as if anything was really announced for Apple TV. It just seemed to have been the watchOS 7, macOS Big Sur, iPadOS 14 and iOS 14 as well. There is also a preview as well that we also got to see for a new Apple TV Plus show, which is called Foundation. It's based on Isaac Asimov's classic sci-fi book series as well. And there's also better multi-user support in tvOS that lets you pick up where you left off in a game, and it now supports Xbox Elite and Xbox Adaptive controllers as well. So there we go. And also as well, Apple TV Plus has lots and lots of screens under its belt as well. So that's just some of the updates that they brought to you in terms of Apple TV. So like I said, this is just a brief outlook as to what was announced at WWDC earlier last month. So anyway, that is all from me. Like I say, do watch out for that YouTube video I've got coming up in the future on SteveOfficial, because that will be me taking a look at an in-depth look at what you can find on iOS 14 and iPadOS 14 as well. So make sure you do tune in for that. But that's all from me. Thank you for watching. If you have enjoyed this video today, please hit the like button. If you're not yet subscribed to my YouTube channel, please hit the subscribe button down below, and do hit the bell button as well, so that you can get notified as to when I upload YouTube videos to my YouTube channel as well. Coming up on the 1st of July, which is when my next YouTube video will be released, I will be having a look at what's coming up on SteveOfficial in July 2020. I hope you join me for that. But from me, it's goodbye. Thank you for watching. I'll see you guys in my next YouTube video.